Hello everyone, Matt here, and we are going to review the Snakebyte PS3 wired controller. It's very similar to Mad Catz. They mainly deal with game accessories, such as like controllers, headsets, things of that nature. Now, in particular, we're looking at this wired controller. It's a version 1.1. So when reviewing this controller, we're going to look at three things. We're going to look at how comfortable it is to hold, how reliable the button inputs are, and how affordable it is compared to other controllers out on the market. Let's get to it. So before I break into the three sections that I'm going to use to review this product, I first want to point out some of the features real quick. So with this controller, the first thing you're going to notice is that it comes with a 3-meter long cable. Now, that's fairly long for any controller, so I personally look at that as a plus. You can be way back on your couch and still use this thing perfectly fine. With all standard PS3 controllers, this comes with the 6-axis motion sensor, which means you can just tilt the controller in any way and it counts as input. The most unique function that comes with this controller is the turbo and clear setting. So if you don't feel like mashing the X button, you can press turbo and then press the button of your choosing, and it will press the button for you repeatedly as fast as it can. And to turn that off, you just press the clear. I also want to point out that this controller does not have triggers. This actually uses buttons for the L2 and R2. It's very different from the Xbox 360 or the PS3 standard controller. Some people may like this. I personally like this a lot more than the triggers. And last but not least, we have the standard face buttons, the D-pad analog sticks, and the triangle, circle, X, square buttons. Okay, so now that we talked about the features of this controller, let's get down to brass tacks. So the first thing I want to point out in the comfort department of this controller is that it does feel good in the hands. Now, I have fairly small hands, and when I look at this controller, it looks pretty huge, a little clunky. But if you take a look at the handles of it, it actually curves around the palm pretty perfectly, and it feels good in the hand. The buttons aren't too far from each other, so that's fairly comfortable. If you're a type of person to play with 2 fingers on the top, though, however, it will feel a bit big. So there is that. So when it comes to comfort, I'd personally give this like a B+. It's one of the most comfortable controllers that I have in my possession. Next up, let's talk about reliability. So I bought this controller for around 15 to 20 bucks. Now, as you can imagine, this is probably why it's not as reliable as most other controllers. If you are getting a third-party controller, whether it be Mad Catz, Snakebytes, or what have you, there is bound to be something to go wrong. For me, a few complaints is that the L2 and R2 buttons don't stay down all the way. Sometimes they get stuck. You really have to push to get them to register the input. The analog sticks are kind of stiff, which feels a little uncomfortable. And like when I first bought this controller, sometimes my character, for no reason, would just move left or right without me even touching it. I haven't had that happen for me in a long time, so maybe I just had to break it in, but this is something you have to be wary about with all third-party controllers. So if you're not into dealing with a risk like that, I would stay away. And last up, we have affordability. Now, like I said, I only got this for 15 to 20 bucks at a local Walmart. And I'm fairly certain you could probably get it cheaper on Amazon. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But I honestly would not go to the trouble of finding this online. This is the kind of controller that you're going to get if you are having a last-minute person come over your house and you just want to game with them, and you don't have a spare controller. This is the only reason that you would pick up a controller like this. I was just fortunate enough to be able to get this and enjoy it as much as I did. So the bottom line, I would highly recommend this controller only if you're on a budget and you need a quick fix to help with your LAN party, or you just have a few people coming over and you're just one controller short. This is the only way I can recommend this controller. Otherwise, it's really not worth the risk. You could buy it, like, it seems cheap, but a lot of the times with these controllers, they're just really not worth the hassle of having them die after like a few weeks, month. I have just been fortunate enough that this one has not died on me yet and is still going strong. So keep that in mind. Uh, all in all, it's the one I have, fairly nice, but the one you might get, not so reliable. And that is the bottom line.